Are you popping on too?
We
are live. Are we live?
Yes, we are.
We are live. Hello, everybody. Hi, Blanca.
Hello.
We are here with the Laws of Sex with Blanca as my co-host, and I'm Dr. Stacy Friedman. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Trying to just, enjoy my days, getting stuff done, talk about sex, typical stuff.
My favorite conversation.
Yes. So today what I wanted to do is I changed it up a little bit, and I wanted to add a couple of aspects to my Laws of Sex webcast. And I wanted to start with doing something such as a quote and be able to kind of discuss the quote of the week. So I wanted to talk about, with us all being in this quarantine and being stuck at home, I thought this was a perfect quote. So the quote of the week for today is, "The cure for boredom is curiosity. There is no cure for curiosity," by Ellen Parr. And I also have that quote in my book that I wrote, which I'll show you the book at the end. But I think that the reason why this quote is so great is because we're sitting home and people are getting bored, and people are getting frustrated, and people getting annoyed, and people are just not knowing what to do and how to change things up, how to spice it up. And so the most important thing is to get out of that boredom. And so when people say, well, I don't know, I'm just bored. I'm bored with the relationship. I'm bored with staying home. What do? The cure for boredom is curiosity.
But didn't they say curiosity killed the cat? It's not gonna get us in trouble, is it?
Well, maybe. That's kind of the idea. But right. It's important, because without that curiosity, without that desire for change, for variety, for learning, being curious about your partner, you're going to be bored.
I agree with that. And I think that you need to, actually, we were talking about that on a show we just produced earlier today. And it was sort of one of my laws of life of the day, which is you've got to keep challenging yourself, because right. The minute you allow yourself to get in a comfort zone, you're not getting creative. You've got to be creative in the bedroom too.
And that's a great word, is creativity, because like it says, the cure for boredom is curiosity, and there's no cure for curiosity. You don't need to cure yourself for curiosity. Curiosity is only going to help you grow. It's going to help you be more creative. It's going to bring you more variety, and it's going to get rid of that boredom.
Without a doubt. That's why we're so lucky to have you, because you always give us some amazing ideas. You've given us so many ideas, I haven't even had a chance to apply all of them yet.
Well, I have it on my YouTube channel, so people will just have to keep going on to the YouTube channel, and it's youtube.com/Dr. Stacy Friedman. So that way, maybe it's something that people can do, is once a week or once a month, take something that we've spoken about and actually put it into play in your relationship and see how things may change. Especially this one for being stuck at home. Definitely figure out what you might be curious about your partner, find out some things. And that kind of brings me to my next reason for why we're here today. And my sexy subject of the day is exploration nights. I think that what that actually means is exploring and learning about your partner. And it's not just the bedroom, but it's just all around, whether you're asking questions, you're learning a little bit more about your partner that you haven't learned in a while. I mean, how many times are you in this long-term relationship and you think, oh, I know this, I know that, but people change. I mean, don't you change?
Absolutely. You change all the time. Women, we change every minute.
Exactly. But we want to try to learn our partners, and we want to try to even learn about some of ourselves, because so many times when you are bored and you're doing the same thing over and over again, you need to be curious about things. One of the things about exploration nights is, number one, when I talk about lips, nips, and below the hips. On to the next one. You'll see that right here, lips, nips, and below the hips. Those are kind of the things that when I talk to my clients and I say, well, what is your typical experience having sex? What do you guys normally do when you go into the bedroom? And the first thing they do, oh, well, we kiss a little bit, and then he or she will go down a little bit. And then, we go to oral and then we have sex. I mean, that's typical. Lips.
Sounds like a traditional formula.
Exactly. And so what my idea of exploration nights is to get rid of that formula and not just focus on lips. You like my little nips there? They're little, I think, lemons.
I like that. It's just so politically correct. I'm impressed.
I can't show nipples, lips, nips, and below the hips. We need to get away from that. We need to focus on more about my number two. And my number two would be pleasure versus performance. And that's something that we want to focus on, which is actually called sensate focus. It's focusing on the feelings, the touch, the sensations of your partner, and focusing more on the pleasure aspect rather than focusing on the performance. So if you go to my next slide, you'll see, dun, dun, dun. In one picture, you can see the couple, they're under the blankets, they're having fun, or they look like they're going to have some fun, and they're focusing more on just being close, on kissing, on having pleasure. And then the second picture, you see where they're kind of distant, look like they're annoyed or didn't have a positive experience, because many times you're focusing on performance, such as making sure you have a very firm erection, making sure you get that orgasm, making sure that your partner has to be satisfied sexually. Rather than really focusing on what's important is, why do you have sex? To have fun.
Exactly. We gotta, that's what everybody's forgetting about. I mean, it really is it's supposed to be about connection.
Right.
And
Connection, having fun, of course, having babies if you need to do that. But, so many people put so much pressure on their relationships when they're not being curious about their partner, when they're not being creative, and they're not doing variety and doing all the same thing from the lips, nips to below the hips. It's all about, okay, well, this is the order I have to go. And now I'm supposed to, perform and make my partner have an orgasm, or make my partner erect, or make my partner wet, and all this kind of stuff. And you're forgetting why you're connecting in the first place.
it's so true. I mean, we sort of touched on it in your last two webcasts, which I highly recommend anyone watch if you haven't done so. But they gave a lot of tools, all of those games and game ideas that you have on your website it blew my mind. And I think that the key is to have fun, to buy games, to try different outfits, to have a good time. We're not going to be on the planet that long. So you might as well have the best possible time you can.
Absolutely.
But let me ask you this. You do agree that mental connection is a prerequisite to sexual connection?
To sexual connection in a more deep way, but you can have a sexual connection without an emotional connection because of the chemistry, of the physical chemistry. But when you want to have that relationship that has that deep emotional and physical connection, you need to be able to focus on, yes, you could have sex and it be all about performance and just say, oh, I just want to get laid and I just want to do that. Yes, that you could do that. But we're trying to not necessarily teach people, but give people ways to help increase the intimacy and connection when they're in a relationship or dating and getting into the beginnings of a relationship, or even just connecting with themselves. It's about focusing on the pleasure and feeling good. So yes, it's important to have that, sexual connection along with the emotional, but you don't necessarily have to.
But as a relationship evolves, 5 years later, 10 years later, and there's so much emotional baggage that starts to happen, the children, the finances, the obligation. Do you have any advice on how to remove those roadblocks to Having fun in the bedroom?
Leave the kids at home and move out. No, but seriously, this is where we go back to doing these things about exploration nights. And there's a couple more things that I want to talk about to go
Awesome.
over it, because you do lose a lot of that connection when you're dealing with the house and the bills and the kids and the school and the work and all that. You do lose it. And that's where you get the familiarity of the lips, the nips, and below the hips. And I keep going back to that because it is such a common denominator for most of my couples that come into my office. And so I think it's so important to really, when you get into that rut and you feel like it's been a while and you had that emotional connection and the physical, but then that physical kind of burns out because of all the other crap that's going on around you, that's when you need to take it upon yourself to start doing some of these exploration ideas to be able to get away from that boredom and build your curiosity. Try to find out a little bit more about your partner. Like we said, people change.
I love it. So important. So important.
So the next one that I was talking about as far as exploration night are erogenous zones. And that goes back to the lips, nips, and below the hips. There are so many juicy, delicious areas on someone's body. When I can talk to somebody and say, oh, you've been together for 30 years. When was the last time you touched her ankle or his ankle? And they look at me like, oh, I don't know. You know, it's part of the body. When you're being intimate, why just focus on the lips, nips, and below the hips? Focus on some of these things that I have on my thing here. The head and the scalp. The people who do hairdressing will tell you, especially when you get your hair done and you get your head rubbed in the shower, in the sink when they do your hair. It feels amazing because there's so many nerve endings there. The ears, like underneath the ears, the nape of the neck, the mouth and the lips. And I know that I said, stay away from lips, nips, and below the hips, but that doesn't mean you can't kiss the edge of the lip or tongue the person's bottom lip or something like that. You have the breast and the nipples. It doesn't mean to focus on there, but you have an entire breast. You don't need to just focus on, sucking on the nips.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
Well said. Well said on that.
The little, I'm going to look back at this and be like, what did I just do? What about the inner body parts? Do you know what that is? The inner body parts?
Like the inner thighs?
Inner thighs, the inner arm. Underneath.
Well, that's a good part. The arms. We always forget the arms.
Do you ever have anyone kind of just like tickle you like this with your arm, and then when they get to the center area, it feels really, really good?
Definitely.
This definitely is an erogenous area. And same thing like with the inner behind the knee.
Yes. No, you know what? I haven't really experienced the behind the knee. I'm going to have to try that. Okay.
Well, that's a good thing because that's part of exploring. That's part of getting away from the typical 3-step program that everyone is programmed to when you're with your partner, to be able to step out of that and focus on, get sex out of the picture. Focus on exploration, focusing on all the erogenous zones. The last erogenous zone is the genitals. But like I said, it's not just lips, nips, below the hips. It's not just the in, out of the genitals. Men have testicles. Many times that is a forgotten area that many women just feel like, okay, well, I'm just doing something to his penis. I'll just focus on that.
True.
Now, there's some people that don't like that don't like their balls being played with, their testicles. Don't know, some people do, some people don't. Same thing with women. Some people like certain things, whatever. But if that's something that your partner enjoys, explore it. Touch it, feel the skin, feel the softness of it. Not to be funny, but there's a ball in there. Play with it a little bit, kind of move it around and see what it does. It could be very erotic to really learn that much about your partner. And for the women, don't just focus on the clitoris or the vagina. Focus on the outer lips. Just take your finger and stroke the outer lip or just lick the side of it. Focus on areas other than the typical in and out of sex.
I think that's very smart. In other words, color outside of the lines.
Exactly. And yeah, it's hard to see the pictures that I put on there, but it's basically showing the different parts of the men and the women. The smaller pictures, like I said, are a little hard to see, but it just shows the man's penis and the perineum area, which is the area, um, uh, what they call the nacho area, not your ass, not your balls, the area in between. Did you ever hear that?
You know what? I have not heard that one. You
The
got
nacho
me there.
area, the taint.
All right. Well, it is important because, at the end of the day, it's also just being gentle and being tender is sometimes, again, different people are turned on by different things, but
Right.
I think that I love the concept, your theme for tonight of being an explorer and, uh, you know, touching areas that we don't normally expect to be touched could be a
Right.
lot more erotic than always going for the predictable, typical zones.
Absolutely. And you never know, you may find an area that may be more erotic than you maybe knew. And that could be something that, if you say, well, I'm bored with my partner, or my partner doesn't really turn me on anymore, you may be able to see like, oh, wow, when you did that. And you can talk about it after. You could say,
Mhm.
oh, when you were touching my neck right here, or when you were touching the line of my back, or when you were touching my testicles right under there, you can say these things and say, that was something that was really hot. I really enjoyed it. And the other person might be like, oh, you know what? That was kind of fun doing it. So now I know for next time. So it's just,
Exactly. You got to communicate, people. You got to communicate. If you don't tell people what feels good and what doesn't, no, we're not psychic.
no. Some of us are, but most of us are not.
You are. Are you a little psychic?
No, I have good intuition, but I'm not psychic. But I think that that's exactly the right point, is that talk about it, communicate about it, and find the erogenous zones that are going to be a turn on for your partner. And that's where that quote comes into curiosity, being curious about your partner.
Yeah, I love that.
Another way that you can explore would be the bath and shower nights, kind of setting something up where you are taking a shower together, you're taking a bath together. You can get to know your partner's body that way, because you could either use a sponge and scrub them down and just get to explore their shape and their movement of their hips and their breasts and things like that. You can also, in the shower, take the soap and wash someone's hair, your partner's hair.
Oh, I
That
like
feels,
that.
yeah, that feels really good. And so you're just doing things that are helping you to explore and taking the focus off of intercourse.
Exactly. Again, it's sort of like that uncharted territory. Go somewhere different because you're getting out of the bed and you're in a different setting. Get out of the same place that you're always having sex. Mix it up.
Exactly. And that's where the bath and shower get really helpful, is because you're getting out of the bed, the actual bed, where some of that boredom may start.
That's right.
So going into a bath or shower helps with, being out of the actual bedroom and starting a little area, place that's a little bit more intimate. And if you're by yourself, that doesn't mean you don't have to explore. And if anything, put yourself in the bathtub with some candles, with some music, glass of wine, a wet vibrator. I
Well,
mean, not a
they-
waterproof vibrator.
are there waterproof ones? There's got to be, right?
Absolutely, lots of them.
Okay.
Lots of waterproof vibrators. So it's not just for couples. It's definitely important to explore on your own as well.
Amazing. I think that is a beautiful way to explore. I love it.
And so since today is Thursday, I always do a Toy Talk Thursday, and I decided to add this to my weekly Laws of Sex, because I think that a lot of people have ideas of what toys they may be interested in, but don't really know what to do, where to find it, how to use it. So because I'm talking about couples and different things to do, I wanted to put in these toys called cock rings. And all these toys, everything you could find on my website. If you just go to drstacyfriedman.com, you can click shop, and I'm doing the same discount COVID-19 for 20% off of your entire order. But what the cock rings are good for is a couple things. If you see the one on the left picture, that one does not have a remote vibrator. The vibrator is actually on the ring. The one on the right, the purple one, actually has a remote, so you can, use it from a distance. But what that's good for, two things. First of all, to help the man last longer. And the reason why that is because the ring is stretchable and it goes on the man's penis, and it helps keep the blood flow in the head of the penis. Can you picture that?
Interesting. So that, yeah, I was going to say, how would that work? But so clearly it's got elasticity to it.
I'm looking for a penis around here. I'm gonna have to have some props next time. But let's just pretend this is one.
I bet we'd get a lot of views if you had props.
I'm gonna have to get some props. But let's say you have this is the man, and the ring. Let's say these are the balls hanging right here. So the ring goes on the penis, and if this is the woman, so the ring will be tight and it keeps it really, really solid. So if this is the woman, it goes in like this, so that way the man stays harder longer. But now if you look where the top of the vibration goes and hitting the woman, it's hitting right over here where the clitoris is. So since 75% of women cannot have orgasms through intercourse, these types of toys really, really help couples or women have that orgasm through intercourse, because they're having a vibration hitting right on the clit when it's going in and out.
That's so let me ask you this question, not to sound stupid, but that bottom part under the ring, where does that work into the picture?
Well, the white one is upside down.
Okay. Okay, so basically it's just the ring. That's the main apparatus that you're using, and that's just the attachment to keep the ring electrified.
Right. It's actually attached, because you can get plain rings. There's many women that if they are having orgasms through intercourse don't need the vibration, but the man might need to stay more erect longer. So you can get rings that are just the ring. You can get rings that have the little vibration on top, which is in both of those, where it helps with the clitoris. The one on the right that has the remote, sometimes it's a little easier, because if it's a little powerful, you don't want to be sticking your hand down there trying to change it and change the speed. Where you just have it in this hand makes it a little easier. But they also have ones where they have the vibration on the top and the bottom of the little ring. And that helps hit the clitoris of the woman, and also helps hit by the balls of the man. A lot of men don't realize that they actually may like the vibration on the balls. So there's tons of different types of cock rings.
So you're definitely the funny thing is, do you think that adults need more education on these options to help them?
I do a lot of education. I do a lot of education in my practice, because there's a lot of people that are very shy about toys, don't really understand toys. There's a lot of men that may feel intimidated by toys. If their partner has been faking it and they don't realize that their partner may need the vibration, there's a lot of different things. So I think the education is very, very important. So I think that being able to feel comfortable talking about toys and learning the right products for you is important. It's not just, for fun on the side. Some people say, oh yeah, we'll spice it up with some toys. Sometimes it just really helps their sexual relationship function better.
Without a doubt. I think that it's something that people don't utilize enough as a tool. And as I always say, life is an open book test. So why not use all of the tools, use all of these options, because you could really transform the entire exploration process in your sex life.
Absolutely. And another thing that's good is that one toy on the right, a lot of the toys have a bullet that comes out, like that one on the right. It actually comes out of that purple circle. So you can use it just as a regular bullet. You can use it as a masturbation thing. You can use it on your partner's, perineum. You can use it on their taint area, whatever you want.
You used a word I don't know. What's a perineum?
perineum is that area that I was talking about.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And what else? I mean, it's just something that you can use to explore.
I love it. Amazing options. And
Yeah.
these are all available on your website, correct?
Absolutely. And with the COVID-19, you get 20% off an entire order. What's important to know about cock rings, though, is that you need to make sure you have lubrication. You don't want to just put them on dry because that's going to be a little uncomfortable coming off.
Got it. That's a pretty important
That is.
piece of advice.
Yes, you definitely don't want to just try to slide it off when you're done because that might be a little uncomfortable.
Sure.
So all that being said, I think what I wanted to finalize with is what my law of sex is for today. And today is just basically saying to take the time to put the physical act of intercourse off the table and explore. Be able to explore, let the magic happen, be able to take the time to get to know your partner in a different type of intimate way and get the focus off of the lip dips below the hips and really explore their erogenous zones, explore different types of activities to make a totally different connection and get the boredom out and keep the curiosity in. I think that's very important.
Super important. That's a beautiful law of sex. Critical.
Thank you. And I do have a chapter in my book. You can get a free PDF download of my book. It's called Confessions and Lessons of a Sexpert. And you can find that on my website, drstacyfriedman.com, under the book link. It can give you access to the free PDF, or you could also get a paperback book on Amazon as well. But there is a chapter in there about exploration night, sensate focus, to help you learn exactly what you can do to reignite some of that curiosity and some of that exploration.
That's a beautiful book cover. I love it.
It's a little bit naughty with my purple little heart.
Very, very cool. So literally we just go to drstacyfriedman.com and we can get a download of this.
Yep.
Wow. That's
Yep.
so
You just click
generous of
on,
you.
yep. You just click on the book link and you just have to enter your email address and it'll send automatically to your email. It's an easy read. But it does give people a lot of good ideas to get started on building that intimacy and having better sex with their partner.
How long did it take you to write your book?
It's about 6 months. I mean, I had a lot of ideas ahead of time, but I really put it together in a 6-month period of time because that was my main focus. And I just wanted to get it out there just to have, it's almost like a beginner's manual, I like to call it, so.
That's quite an accomplishment. Do you plan on writing more books in the future?
Eventually, I'd like to. I know that there's a couple of issues that are very, very important to me and that I see in my practice very often, women with painful sex and, being able to keep connecting while you're dealing with all of that. And I think that that's something that I'd like to write about, and just being able to keep the connection when you're dealing with painful sex. It's a very important thing that I actually would like to talk about sometime through the laws of sex as well. But that's definitely a subject I feel passionate about.
That would be a very, very interesting topic and a great book. Well, Doctor, you are truly a wealth of so many different opportunities and so many pieces of information, education. And anyone out there needing a clinical sexologist or sex coach, please consider calling Dr. Stacy Friedman. Her number is 561-899-7669. You can check out her website at drstacyfriedman.com. You can also download a PDF copy of her book. And it looks like it's also full of incredible ideas. And you can also find Stacy on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So what's your favorite social media platform?
I do more postings through the Facebook, but I'm trying to get a little bit better in the Instagram. A little slow with social media, but I'm working on it. But when I do my Instagram, I also post to Twitter. So that's kind of like, Instagram lets you post to Twitter, which is nice because otherwise it's going from place to place. But I think that Facebook, as of right now, is where I'm doing most of my social media.
Well, it's a fantastic audience, and I love your show, The Laws of Sex. It's an honor to co-host with you. And everybody, keep in mind Dr. Stacy Friedman. And Dr. Friedman, any closing words of advice before we close out the show?
No, just make sure that you continue to explore, continue every single day, think of something that you can do to improve or do something that makes your partner feel special, makes them feel loved, and even yourself. One thing a day, do something that is going to pique your curiosity, to get rid of that boredom, and to be able to have one more thing that you can learn about yourself or your partner.
I love it. Well, I hope everybody out there watching learned the laws of sex. I know I did. And we will see you next Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Thanks for watching. And thank you so much, Dr. Stacy Friedman.
Great chatting with you.
You too.
Bye, everybody.
Everybody.
Bye.